Thuman delegation, when contacted the following morning, said they were singing together before bed. They seemed confused by the question. One of them apologized for the noise and asked if they had disturbed anyone. I did not know how to answer that either. I am forwarding this log to the Accord Review Committee without recommendation. That is not a position I have occupied before in 31 years of waypoint oversight. The frequency characteristics of the Mirren transmission are enclosed in Appendix C. I draw the Council's attention specifically to the tonal layering in the 3rd and 7th minutes. Our Acoustic Analysis Division has identified the lower register as containing what they classify as a territorial affirmation pattern, a class of signal we have previously documented only in 2 contexts: pre-sapient organisms marking nesting ground, and our own species' war preparation ceremonies, which have not been performed in over 300 cycles. The humans were not aware they were producing this pattern, or they were, and chose not to disclose it. I have spent 3 days deciding which possibility I find more significant. I have not resolved it. The cultural submission itself is, on its surface, unremarkable. Music. 11,000 recordings spanning what the delegation claims is 8,000 years of continuous practice. The Accord's standard review process would flag this as insufficient temporal documentation. Oral traditions are not verifiable records, and the absence of written notation from the earliest claimed period is a gap the submission does not adequately address. I recommend the submission be tabled pending formal acoustic review. The Accord's standing members deserve clarity on what, precisely, they would be welcoming. I note, for the record, that I am filing this recommendation with less certainty than I am accustomed to feeling. The session was terrible today. I mean that in the technical sense, it went badly, but also in the plain sense. It was just a hard day. Councillor Vall spent 40 minutes explaining why our cultural submission lacks the temporal depth required for full standing. He kept using the word recent like it was a wound he was pressing on. Recent civilization. Recent tradition. Recent memory. He said it 11 times. I counted because I needed something to do with my hands. Lise was in tears by the break. I was close. So we did what we always do when it gets bad. Brennan started the Shira, and one by one the rest of us joined in. You know how it goes. Once Brennan starts, you can't really not join. It's not a rule. It's just what happens. 14 of us in the transit room, most of us still in our session clothes, singing something none of us can translate. Mum used to say the meaning isn't in the words. I've been thinking about that this week. I hope she was right, because I genuinely cannot tell you what we were saying. Just that it felt necessary. The way sleep is necessary, or eating. Something the body requires. We left the channel open by accident. None of us noticed until morning. I don't think it matters. I just wanted you to know. The Accord requires evidence of cultural continuity spanning no less than 4,000 cycles. Humanity's submission documents music. We do not dispute its emotional complexity. We dispute its age. An oral tradition with no written record prior to approximately 2,000 cycles ago does not satisfy the continuity requirement, regardless of what the delegation claims about earlier practice. The Shira sequence has been sung continuously for longer than your current calendar system has existed. We cannot provide written notation from that period because writing did not exist yet. The song predates it. That is not a gap in our record. That is a fact about the sequence. An oral tradition without documentation is not a verifiable record. It is a claim. Then let me describe what we are claiming. A tradition that has survived the death of the language it was first sung in. 3 forced planetary relocations. 2 extinction-level population events from which our species recovered with, among other things, fewer than 60,000 individuals alive on record. 1 occupation lasting 112 years during which the singing was explicitly prohibited. And it is still being sung. Right now? In this station. By people who cannot tell you what the words mean. If that is a claim, it seems like a fairly robust one. The room was quiet for 14 seconds. No one moved. We have completed full spectral analysis of the Mirren waypoint transmission. Please review the attached comparison before tomorrow's session. The lower register tonal pattern identified in the human broadcast is structurally identical, not similar, identical, to the Thovery-Careth ceremony recorded at the fall of Selven, cycle 301. Our instruments found no meaningful deviation across 17 independent acoustic parameters. The Careth pattern was classified as species-specific following the Selven research. Biologically encoded, The original study concluded, arising from Thovery physiology in conditions of extreme collective stress. It is not species-specific. We have no hypothesis for how a human folk song contains a Thovery war preparation frequency. We want to be careful with language here. Contains may not be accurate. It is perhaps more precise to say that both songs, separated by species, by star systems, by thousands of cycles, by every axis of origin we know how to measure, independently arrived at the same sound. We do not know what that means. We are not sure it is our place to say. We thought you should know before you vote. I have spent 40 years studying cultural depth. I know what it looks like, not in the abstract, but in practice, in the room, across a table. I know the difference between a civilization that has accumulated history and one that has been genuinely shaped by it, that carries the weight of what it survived in the structure of its language, its ceremony, its silences. The weight shows. It always shows. The humans sing a song they no longer understand. They do not know the original words. They do not know the origin. By every formal metric I have applied for 4 decades, that should disqualify it. A tradition you cannot explain is not continuity. It is drift. I have written that sentence in 3 separate published analyses. I still believe it in principle. And yet I have been sitting with this memo for 4 hours, and I cannot make it mean something smaller than it is. They sang it at the end of a day when I told them, politely and with full procedural backing, that their culture was too young to warrant serious consideration. They did not file a grievance. They did not draft a rebuttal. They sat together in a transit room and sang something none of them could translate, because the day had been hard and it was the thing that felt necessary. They left the channel open by accident. The sound went across the whole station. It woke up my staff, not because it was loud, because something in it, something below the range of conscious recognition, registered as significant. My analysts spent 3 days on the spectral data before they found what it was. The Kareth was sung once, at the end, when Selvin was falling, and our people knew that not all of them would survive the morning. We do not sing it anymore. We survived. We built institutions. We have the accord, and the review process, and the continuity requirement, and 40 years of my careful scholarship on what depth looks like. The humans have been singing theirs continuously, through extinction, through prohibition, through relocation and occupation and sessions like today, in rooms full of people who would prefer they simply go away. They sing it before they sleep. They sing it when they are frightened. They sing it in languages they can no longer speak, for reasons they can no longer name, because the body requires it the way it requires water. I do not know what I will write in my formal recommendation. I know that recent is not the word I reach for anymore when I think about what those people are carrying. I also know I will not tell them about the frequency. I am not sure they need to know. I am not sure the knowing would change anything. They would probably receive the information, consider it for a moment, and then keep singing. I think that is the part that I cannot get past.